Hey everyone, Diggs here for Lockpickers United, and welcome back to Fabrication Friday. Today we're going to be making a 3KS slider pick by modifying an old rake. I'd like to take just a quick second to recognize something awesome that's happened recently. If you've been paying attention to our subscriber count, it's almost tripled in the last few days. And that's all thanks to a shout out that Lockpicking Lawyer gave us. We really appreciate that, and for all of his fans that have come over to check us out, we really appreciate you too. Hopefully you find some useful information here and you get your learn on with us. Let's get to making this pick. So what I'm showing you here is two different picks. They both started as rakes. One is still a rake, but this is the one that I've turned into a 3KS pick. And today I'm going to duplicate this for you so you can see the process. It's actually really not hard at all. It's pretty quick, in fact. And this thing is indispensable on the 3KS. A pick like this is only going to be useful on a slider lock that has nubs, something like the 3KS, the Dual, the ICS. But outside of that, I haven't really tried it on a whole lot of slider locks. I would imagine that it would work on anything it could grab onto. So here I'm checking the length. I've got a pretty good available bit there, and what you'll see when I'm done with this is I wind up making this a little bit longer than the first one. So I'm happy with that. The handle on my pick is pretty short, so while it does work, it's a little uncomfortable to hold on to. So to start the process, I'm going to replicate what somebody did in my house, which is bend one of my rakes. It's pretty straightforward with a pair of needle nose, but you do want to make sure that the bend is straight, and a pair of needle nose pliers that has a flat section is a real big help here. So you can see I just clamp it in there and lever it up, and I put a nice 90-degree bend in it. Now, conventional wisdom will tell you to heat up this pick before. If you're going to bend metal, you should get it cherry red hot and this and that. It doesn't matter for this, I promise. So here I'm just checking my bend to see if it's close enough to start with. It's pretty close, and you'll see I have to rebend this a few times and kind of adjust things as I go along, because it's a finicky tip that we're trying to make here. So after I get done looking at it for a while and I'm convinced that the bend suffices, I move on to chopping that whole rake section off of there. Here we go. So you'll notice in this video, I choose not to quench because one, I'm not really applying cutting edge to the pick that long, and two, I don't really care as much because this pick isn't designed to flex a bunch. So you don't need to maintain the integrity of the metal and this and that and the other. Really what you're going after is a more rigid pick. And because you're using it sideways and because you're putting that bend in there, it winds up being pretty strong. So there you can see I knock off what I think is too much of the tip. I compare it. I realize that it is a little bit more than I wanted to take off. You can see right there. It's just not as much. There's not enough bend left there. So I'm going to break out the pliers again and twist up the tip a little bit more. Same process as before. I'm just grabbing the very edge this time. And I'm going to use this Dremel metal cutting wheel to put a groove right in the center. These discs are just the perfect size for this, and I do have a measurement coming to you later. If you wanted to use something else, you can wind up in the same place, but if you do have a Dremel, this speeds it up quite a bit. So there you can see I've put that notch in the center, and what I've wound up doing is just taking off a little bit too much. If you look at the nub on the top, it's just real thin at the tip, and I decide that that's too thin. I want both sides to be as close to equal as possible and both of them to be strong. So I get another little bend in there, and I'm going to knock off that very thin section of tip there. Switch it over to the sanding barrel because I'll be able to reduce that sharp bit on the tip of the edge there and round it out a little bit without taking off too much material right out of the gate. Sanding barrels are good at removing material, but you only want to use them for little bits of material, not a ton. And with that little kiss of the cutting wheel, she's much closer to where I want her. In fact, I think this is the point where I decide that the tip is good. You can see it's got nice flat surfaces inside. And I go on to compare it to my other tool, and they're pretty close. I'll flip it over here in a second. You can see the bends are pretty close to matching there, and so are the tips. So now I'm just going to have to remove this section of material, because if I don't, then it won't fully extend into the 3KS keyway. It'll get hung up on the keyway where that outcropping is. So I'm just lining up next to each other, end to end. And I'm going to mark out the section that I need to cut away. Thankfully, it's not a whole lot of material because I'm on my last cutting wheel at this point. When I first started filming this video, I decided I was going to do this from scratch, and I laid out the whole profile, traced it onto a piece of feeler gauge stock, and then tried to rush through the process. And as all of us know that make things, if you rush, you're probably going to fail. And I did. So here I am modifying another Mad Bob rake because I'm never going to use them. Just so everyone's aware, that's not a dig on Mad Bob's picks. He makes pretty good stuff. I just don't use rakes. Here I'm taking little breaks because I don't want to get it super hot, but at the same time, I'm a little too frustrated to be quenching every cut here. You can see I'm using the edge just to shape it up a little bit. And if you look at the front of the handle there, that corner is way too sharp to be comfortable in a picking hand. So I'm just going to round that out a little bit. And once I got the rough shape in, I switched the cutting wheel out for a sanding barrel again. And I'm going to smooth all this to make sure, one, that it's even, and two, that it's not going to snag on my fingers or anything in the lock. And there we go. She's done. So I'm going to show you this tip just one more time. You can see it's got flat edges on the inside and outside. It's got nubs that are almost equal widths. And now I'm just speeding through a little bit of me messing around before I realize that I'm not properly showing you this slider at all. And once I get it up into camera view here, you can see that these fingers grab onto this thing perfectly. It doesn't matter what angle you're at, and that's important because sometimes you're going to have to angle around other sliders in front of it. So that gives you perfect control, and that's the 3KS slider pick done. No longer a rake. For those of you that want to see measurements, here's a picture with measurements. You can make it any way you like, any process that you have. It might even be better than mine, but this is the goal that you're shooting for. And the finished product, a fancy picture like people do. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video. It taught you something useful. If you do wind up winning one of these 3KSs, it'll be especially useful. And thanks for watching. Please subscribe. And thanks again to Lockpicking Lawyer for the shout out. Happy picking.